Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're here with comic Douglas Widick. Douglas Widick, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you, Brian?
Oh, good. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I'm doing fine. And your musical improv and musical sketch is all over the internet. On Twitter, you are D Widick, and
Yes.
on Instagram, you're Douglas Widick.
You know it.
But you're doing everything. You got your main improv gig is
Yeah.
North Coast.
Yeah. Founded in 2009. I've been doing North Coast for a decade now, and we
My
have a
Lord.
lot of fun. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Most improv teams have like a 2-year expiration.
And is
But
yours is it all musical improv or is it kind of a mix?
so it's hip hop improv.
Yeah.
So we do freestyling. We have beatboxer on stage with us instead of a pianist, and
Ah.
so we rap when the scene gets kind of cooking and really interesting. That's when the rap will come in.
That must be impossible to improvise. Like
It's
rapping because it has to rhyme too.
Yeah, we're definitely a weird hybrid of two very difficult crafts. Like long form improv is challenging enough, and then we're like, actually, let's make this a little bit harder.
My Lord. And so is the beatboxer comedic too?
A lot of them have comedy backgrounds, but
Okay.
not all of them. Some of them are just beatboxers who we rehearse with and train them how to know when to come in.
Wow. And there's
Yeah.
there's a lot of you. It's over 10, right? Like you
Yeah.
you guys have all been together for a decade or have a couple people
No.
dropped out of the city?
Oh no, improv has a big turnover
Yeah.
rate. People are like, this isn't paying my bills or making me famous. I'm out of here. So I'm one of the only OGs left, and then James Robalata, the other co-founding member, is still around.
Good.
But one of our longest running members just moved to Portland. The pandemic was like the last straw for New York for her. So
Oh
she was like,
no.
I'm out of here. I need a lawn. I need a backyard. Yeah.
Fuck. And then you're like, can we do our show on your lawn, please?
Seriously, well, the improv scene in Portland is phenomenal. There's 3
Yeah.
theaters out there and just a thriving scene. So we're gonna visit. No doubt about
Oh,
it.
yes. I was almost going to ask, are you tempted to move? But as long as it's a touring destination, you don't have to.
Right, exactly. It's that thing where it's like millennials like access to things. They don't want to own anything. And
Yeah.
so I just live in New York so that I can access all the branches of this wonderful world we live in.
Yeah. And so, I mean, like, yeah. So how did you fall into hip hop improv? Like, I
It
would think did it happen 10 years ago with kind of the rise of hip hop? Or, I mean, I suppose the rise of hip hop was 30 years ago or something, or 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, musical improv was having a rise. I think hip hop was already fully huge, and what it was the founder of the team is not me. The founder of the team is James Robalata, but we're both founding members. And James Robalata had this idea to do like a rapping Baby Wants Candy. Do you know what Baby Wants Candy is?
I think I remember, but yeah, refresh
So
my
Baby
memory.
Wants Candy's like the Chicago OG musical improv team. They've got the strongest brand in
Uh,
musical improv, and they had already been doing it for like a decade at that point, a little more actually. They were founded in 1997,
Holy shit.
and yeah, I know. And they were just unbelievable. And we also saw 2 members of Baby doing 2 prov, and they were called I Eat Pandas. And so yeah, so good. And so musical improv was the super inspirational thing for young improvisers to be watching, especially when it was really good scene work. It always felt transcendent because songs tend to be a crutch in musical improv. It's like, uh-oh, this scene's not going very well. Dun 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 dun. Well, this is kind of funny and we are making laughter, right? But when you have really strong scene, then the songs are just absolutely transcendent. And so I saw that, and decided to take a musical improv class, and that's where I met James, and he was the one that pitched the idea for hip hop improv to me, and I was like, count me in. And the first rehearsal was like that weekend.
Well, so that's cool though, because I mean, yeah, you guys have longevity, but you said baby want candy. I mean, it's like you guys are nothing compared to their longevity, right? And it's so cool that you found a good team to look up to, because if you had
Hmm.
found a different improv program to look up to, they would have
Hmm.
broken up in a couple years and taught you the wrong lessons.
Yeah, for sure. We've always looked up to Baby Wants Candy, Improvised Shakespeare, TJ and Dave, these long-standing brands that people say, you know what? What's a good Friday night out? My friends are in from Michigan. I want to take them to something. What's a consistent improv show that has a
North Coast.
unique niche, right? And yeah, and then it's like, oh, I know this show at the Pit every Saturday night, North Coast. And so we're every Saturday. So we have that kind of like calling card show every Saturday that serves as sort of like a reminder, like we out here, we're here doing it.
I mean, were you able to kind of keep this up during the quarantine at all via Zoom? I mean, is improv just impossible, especially musical improv? Because the beatboxing, I would think you can't even sync it up.
It's extremely difficult. The syncing issues are frankly depressing, but we have been teaching classes, we've been doing shows, we've been doing Instagram freestyle sessions where people have been playing a beat behind themselves. So we're trying to keep the torch lit, but we are taking like a couple weeks off just because August is notorious for people being like, I'm like vegging by a pool right now. I don't want
Yeah.
to do anything.
Yeah, everybody
So
always left in August anyway. So like, yeah, how do you even stay sharp either during an August or just in general? Like, I would think improvisational professionals, like improvisers, have to
yeah,
stay sharp. They
yeah,
have to perform all the time to keep that comedy brain sharp. Like, I can't even do that shit. Like,
yeah,
I
it's a
mean, how do you,
muscle.
yeah, how do you, and I think I have somebody coming on later today who might have been there with Del Close back in the 80s or 90s. And one thing I wanted to ask, and I probably can ask you, is how the fuck do you like impose control, like somebody who likes stand up because it has control,
Yeah.
when you get out there and you have no control, you can't hog the spotlight, you have no idea if somebody's going to take, like, how, is there any way to impose control in improv?
Sure. I think the way you impose control in improv is via your craft. It's that you know you're on stage with a bunch of other craftspersons who understand the mechanisms and techniques of improv on a deep enough level that you all that's your risk spread is that everyone on stage has each other's back, right?
Hmm.
If it's just two people, that's even riskier, right? But if it's four people who know what they're doing, someone's going to save someone because they're
uh,
all have the craft. The only time the ship truly tanks is if you're in a narrative show and the audience does not like that story. Then you have to figure then you have to figure out, okay, well, how can we give them what they want? And so you can sometimes pivot and give them what they want. But that's actually one of the beautiful things about improv compared to stand up is if you're tanking but you only have your 10-minute set, I mean, then it's like, okay, well, then that's when I've seen stand-ups get angry at the audience where it's like, okay, wait, we can pivot as an improv team. We can give you more of what you want. And when you're on the road, you learn those lessons quick.
Really, because the road is harder.
I think the road harder is relative because it's like when you're in New York, there's something harder about New York audiences who are like, huh, I'm a New York audience, impress me, right? But then you'll go on the road sometimes and it's either too easy or too hard. And
uh,
so you learn quickly how to pivot. And also doing corporate and college gigs gives you a lot of different skill sets as well.
wow. And so corporate, they're just not ready for comedy or whatever, and so you have to I don't know, get them ready to laugh or something like that when they're just at work or something.
Yeah, they're like eating shrimp cocktail and you have to make them stop their conversation with their coworker.
And so how
And
do you even
so
do that? You just have such a shocking idea or something that you run with, so they pay
that's
attention.
yeah, that's one way. Also, the beatboxer tends to stop people in their tracks. It's like everyone's talking and then you hear like boom, boom, and it gets
Ah,
really
you're pretty good at that. Do you ever fill in as a beatboxer in your show?
I've had to before, yeah, but
Yes.
you
It's
know
probably
when
not
I'm
what you prefer though, because you can't really flex your comedy chops if you're providing the beat all show.
yeah, it can be hard. Like I've done two prov with actually one of our beatboxers who improvises. Her name's Kayla Milady. She's actually a world beatbox champion. And we did a
Wow.
little tour one time in New Orleans where we did 4 dates and we would pass the beat back and forth. Yeah,
And
we
just
call
how
that
does the
jazz funeral.
and then how does this relate to things like very own song and toxic masculinity? Tell me about each, and then we'll kind of tie them all together via the miracle that is Douglas Widick.
Oh my God, I'm a miracle. Thank you, Brian. That feels
It's
good to hear from
yeah, it's on
someone other
audio,
than
man.
my
It's
mom.
recorded. We're gonna cut this clip, and everybody will know that I said it.
Hell yeah. I'm going to post the audiogram and I'm going to be like, look, you heard it here. Brian Koppen says I'm a miracle.
Yeah.
No longer am I touting my own relevance. So yeah, okay. So very own song, just to answer in the order that you asked, is my new custom song website. So it's not really a comedy outlet as much. I mean, it is a comedy outlet, but it's more like an e-commerce digital product where people can order a song for someone in their life. So they can be like, hey, I want to say thank you to Greg who referred me to this client. And then I've done those. Like I've done thank you for referring me to the client song.
Yeah, I was thinking it'd be
So
something like happy birthday or whatever, but I like, thank you, Greg, for this referral. That's hilarious. And you could just make that funny.
oh
Like, I
yeah.
mean, and are all these things funny, or are you sometimes trying to like be consistent with romance by being, funny and sweet?
I've done serious ones. We brand it as hilarious, but we've gotten serious orders. I did one for someone's 70th birthday recently, and it
Oh,
was like a 2 minute, epoch about this guy's life. And so
wow,
I
that took a
decided
lot of
not to
work.
be
So hopefully you're charging enough.
Yeah, I am. And I'm also starting to leverage like my database of tracks that I've made so that I can
Uh,
quickly get moving and just write the lyrics and be like, hey, that's a pretty generic country chord progression. Now I
yeah.
can just go straight into the lyrics section.
And do you even ask for stuff like that? Like, what is this person's favorite genre?
Yeah, that's all in the form, in the order form.
And they're like, this person's in their 70s, so big band, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually just did a swing one.
Oh
Which
my
is just like
Lord.
added like logic horns, and I mean, it
Uh,
is crazy what you can do with a few samples now. It is just
uh,
unbelievable. Things sound so much more expensive than they are because of the samples that you can get on these huge sample databases. So like you hear like beats on the radio, you're like, wow, that must have been a symphonic orchestra in the studio. And it's like that was a guy on his laptop on a car ride. Like
ah.
yeah, no, but seriously, like there's some of these apps like Sibelius and you can just type in on your keyboard typing and it sounds like a huge symphonic orchestra. It's pretty cool.
And so, I mean, is that stuff like, what do you say, Sibelius? What do you say?
I think it's Sibelius is actually the ones that make Finale, which is the notation software. I'm trying to think of the one that makes the high fidelity orchestration software. It sounds like Sibelius, but I mean even the orchestration software in Logic, the native ones are incredible. But the best sampling software I use is for drumming. It's called Superior Drummer, and it's a $400 app. It's no small chunk of change, but the amount of care that went in to building these drum samples is the best in the world. You just feel like you have access to pro drummers.
Wow. And that's what I need. Like, I've been in a lot of bands, and the least responsible person is always the drummer because he's in about five bands at once because he has
Hmm.
no ownership over any of the music. He just shows up and,
Right, keeps
gets
time.
laid. Yeah, sits down,
Yeah,
puts down the beat, and then gets laid afterwards, and then goes to his four other bands that weekend. But I mean,
yeah,
that's just fucking cool. And so, and it's worth the money too. I mean, if you're able to sound like $1,000, you're willing to pay $400. And did you
yeah.
do any of this stuff in Toxic Masculinity, the musical?
Yeah, so for Toxic, that's a musical written by Ken McGraw and I. He's a musical and sketch comedian in New York. And so I programmed and composed all the music for that score with Ken over the course of a year from March 2018 to March 2019. We
Wow.
worked for a year on the show. We said, if we're going to put something out there and we're going to do a spank, which is the audition for a run at UCB,
Okay.
um, we want it to be something we're super proud of that we want to do over and over again, and because once you start doing this show, you're stuck with it, and it's for
It's not like
scripted stuff.
improv where you can change it, right?
Exactly. So
That's
we
so
wanted
funny. Yeah, like for you, you're like, we better fucking like this show because we can't just throw out more words or something.
exactly. Well,
Wow.
and you see people like 5 weeks into doing their spank, once it gets a run, they're just like, and they start like dicking around on stage, and I'm like, no, we want this to be pound for pound, joke for joke, like nonstop onslaught of jokes.
Yeah.
So
And
we
you did
really
get run though. Didn't you get run in both New York City and LA UCB?
Yeah, we did 2 nights in LA and
Wow.
we did 9 months at the UCB theater. Yeah.
My Lord, if you did not like that show 9 fucking months, and how many nights a week would you do it for 9 months?
Oh, so it was for 2 shows a week. UCB has a model where it's you do it 2 times. I'm sorry, not 2 times a week, 2 times a month.
Okay.
And so we wanted to do it more. We were like,
Yeah.
come on, come on. So that's why we were doing a showcase at 54 Below that got canceled because of the pandemic,
Right.
which
Because you
feels
wanted to
like
do it more than
years
18.
ago.
You're like, remember that when we got canceled at 54 Below? It's like, dude, that was like 4 months ago, 6 months ago.
Yeah, seriously.
And so like, so 9 months was what, 2 times a month? So it was about 18 performances at UCB New York.
Yeah, about, yeah.
And at what point did they stop in New York City vis-a-vis your performance? Like right after you guys wrapped up your musical, your toxic masculinity, they closed down. They're like, we've seen it all. We've seen the best comedy in the world. We can fucking shut down.
Yeah, they were like, you know what? The pandemic was not the reason that we shut down our doors. We shut down the doors because nothing will ever trounce Toxic Masculinity, the musical.
Yeah. And so yeah, so how did that like content wise, how did that talk about toxic masculinity through what kind of lens? Were these a couple characters, Gavin and Trent? It says Gavin and Trent are here to teach you their lifestyle through song, dance, and the strong power of bromance. That's adorable. So and so were they bros? Were they toxic bros?
Yeah, so it's when you show up to Toxic Masculinity, the musical, we greet you as if you just entered a seminar on how to get it in, on how to bone, on how to
the game, the secret.
Yeah, basically. And so you show up and we introduce ourselves as the ultimate fuckboys. And the opening number is called I'm a Fuckboy. And so we teach the audience that, and then there's an inciting incident where they end up doing a date live on stage because they get a Tinder match live on stage. So they're like, you know what? We could explain this to you, or we could show you.
That is cool.
Yeah, and so then that's when things go awry. And
you bring somebody on. I mean, like you don't bring an audience member on stage. Maybe it's a plant, but you have an actress who's ready to, an actor or an actress who's ready to play out the other side of the date.
No, so because it's a two-man musical, we tried to keep the variables way, way down. Okay. And so we actually act out to the actress who would be in the show. And so she's talking to us, but the audience isn't hearing her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we're responding to her dialogue and then you kind of using leading questions to show what she said. But for a longer version, we were considering potentially putting her in the show. Her name is Brooke Cook, the person, and we end up, I'm not going to give away what the little twist is, but the way we examine toxic masculinity is through the way she treats us. And you'll see they get a taste of their own medicine.
And is this clipped on the Instagram? Like if I fire up all your Instagram clips, am I going to see that date?
You'll see parts of it. Yeah, we have that. And then we also have some YouTube clips that I can send you if you want. But yeah, there's some fun stuff on the Instagram for sure.
And it looks like, the New York Times had you as the 5 comedy shows to catch in NYC this weekend. That's awesome. You and Bridget Everett.
I know, that was a crazy morning.
Did you ever think that could be something that, you're listed next to, an icon like Bridget Everett?
No, I never. Yeah.
I love these things. Like, we don't even know what to dream when we're young. We don't even know what's possible. Like, do you ever know that you would have a 9-month run at UCB, just you and your comedy partner?
Yeah, no, I didn't. And like, it's funny because we're always wanting more and more and more. But if you had told 21-year-old me that we did a 9-month run at UCB, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been like, oh, this is the best thing ever. But then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not on Saturday Night Live. I'm not the face of Verizon or whatever. Like, these jobs where people are set for life or whatever. Yeah. But like, there's no sure thing. And even the people who get those jobs wake up and are a person whose knee might hurt or, has a frustrating feeling in their soul or whatever. Like you have to be cool with yourself now. There's no destination that comes from a career.
Even the face of Verizon wouldn't be able to have the twice a month for 9-month laughs that Douglas Widick has.
Exactly. Everybody wants what someone else has.
Yeah, and so what's kind of next? So I'm following you here. You're D Widick at Twitter. Yeah. You're Douglas Widick at Instagram. Like if I'm following this, and of course I do, North Coast NYC, very own song, Toxic Masculinity _ the musical. What's going to be the next thing to pop? What's going to be the next thing that's going to have a new content on it?
Yeah, well, I'm really trying to put more content out on my personal Instagram. So that's really been the focus lately. And I'm going to kind of cross promote that between YouTube.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to start doing some like YouTube like finance bros. So there's like this whole culture of stock bros online who like they're kind of like, okay, these are my picks for the week. I'm going to be investing in Tesla. I'm going to be investing in Baidu. And
Tesla,
you
my
can,
lord.
I know, well, now it's completely popped. I'm very scared for anyone who has significant holdings because it popped past 2000. And I mean, the company is profitable, but it's just such a high valuation. I'm worried that there's going to be a big decline. But
You're
because
going to
they
play
have,
one of those finance bros and kind of sketch online content for them. That's funny. Because like
yeah,
how much of that is a tip? It's like, oh, you're going to bring my attention to fucking Tesla. Thanks for that. Like,
yeah,
where'd you get
yeah,
out that? You learned about Elon Musk on fucking Twitter. Like, yeah, I'm
right.
going to pay $2,000 a share for that piece of shit. No, like, tell me about some things that are about to pop, not things
Yeah.
that are about ready to fucking crash.
Right, and most of it is people just going on hunches. Like when you watch these videos, it's just someone pulling up the ticker, not the ticker, like the graph of it going up and being like, "Look, it's going up." And so, like these people, they're not looking at the hard data, and so I want to make fun of that, the fact that so much of it is just a hunch.
Yeah, or is it their astrological sign, and they're going to be like finance bros. Like, are they going to be the same type of thing that toxic masculinity did so well?
Yeah, like I think there's just this corner of the internet of people just getting really hyped up about finance, and I want to kind of tap into that. So I'm probably going to call it Brock Stocks Picks.
Nice.
Yeah, Brock Stocks.
And because is the character going to be Brock?
Yeah. So just be like,
That's
yo,
all you had to say.
yeah,
Now we know exactly who fucking Brock is.
yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, some of these Chinese stocks are popping right now. So Lee Auto just raised $1 billion. I think it's very promising. All that stuff.
You're almost like Bobby Bottle Service, Nick Kroll's character. You
Oh,
got that
really?
smooth. You got that, but no, meaning it's that smooth. I mean, you probably can listen to it to make sure that you're distinct enough, but it's that smooth, douchey voice.
Yeah, smooth douche. That's
Dude,
it.
but yeah, I mean, he's the opposite of smooth douche. Douglas Widick, thank you so much.
Oh, of course.